welcome in now to talk more about this matchup and the other top 10 showdowns coming up. ESPN senior writer Heather Dinich, who is already a very, very busy woman. Heather, already, it's Tuesday of week one. How many television appearances have you had already this week?
Just a few, guys, just a few, but we're getting started. It's here. Now we're talking about football.
Yeah, we're so excited to finally have some games on the actual field. We were just talking Clemson, LSU. In terms of Clemson, a win in this opener against the Bayou Bengals would do what, Heather, for their narrative long-term this season?
Well, it would put them in a position to go 2-0 against the SEC in the non-conference schedule. Because remember, they end the regular season against rival South Carolina. And if Clemson doesn't win the ACC and they're fighting for an at-large bid, and they go 2-0 against the SEC, that non-conference resume is going to be nearly impossible to beat in the selection committee meeting room. Plus, it gives them the head-to-head win against those teams, which is one of the tiebreakers. It's so critical. And yes, we can absolutely talk playoff implications in week one because every game matters.
No question, right? And beyond just the results of a Clemson win, this could also be extremely detrimental from an LSU standpoint. How much more difficult is it for LSU to get back into the playoff sort of conversation should they drop this season open?
Well, it's hard simply because LSU's schedule is so hard. Number 11 in the country, right? It's a double-edged sword because if they lose, there are plenty of opportunities to make up for it and compensate for it in that selection committee meeting room. But you could also very easily see how LSU would be a 2 or a 3 loss team. ESPN's FPI gives them less than a 50% chance to win at Ole Miss, at Alabama, and oh, by the way, at Clemson.
Yeah, for LSU, if they lose this opener, I know the odds have them falling under 30% chance to make the college football playoff. But again, that's only after week one. All right, when you're watching this kickoff, 7:30 on ABC, Heather, what will you be watching the closest to see what determines the outcome in this game between the two Tigers?
I'm going with Clemson's defensive line against Garrett Nussmeier. And I talked to Dabo Sweeney about that this week, and he said if we don't get that done and put pressure on him, we're not going to win this game. You look at both of these teams, they both have excellent quarterbacks. They both have great wide receivers. These passing games should be on fire. But if they can't get after Nussmeier and force him into some of those interceptions that we've seen from him before, then you could see LSU escape Death Valley with this win.
Yeah, absolutely watching that battle in the trenches there. Okay, let's go a little bit further south, down to Miami Gardens, not in Coral Gables because they play at Hard Rock. Another top 10 showdown between Notre Dame and Miami, and both teams with new quarterbacks. You have the Irish going with a youngster in C.J. Carr, and then you have a veteran over on the other side for Miami. We all know him, Carson Beck, transferring down there from Georgia. And look, Heather, we know the story when it comes to Carson Beck. Last year didn't necessarily work out for him in Athens. But look, this is a guy who has over 7,000 passing yards in his career, 58 touchdowns. What are the odds, in your opinion, that Carson Beck is the reason Miami finally wins an ACC championship this year?
Listen, I think Carson Beck is going to have a lot to do with it. I don't have any questions about his ability to win games for them. I have more questions about Miami's defense, though. If Miami is going to win the ACC, take another step forward in the college football playoff and get into that thing, then they've got to play better defensively. You look at those games that they lost last year down the stretch, that was a big reason why. You're not losing games because of Cam Ward, you're losing games because of that defense. Carson Beck's going to be fine. Can they take another step on the other side of the ball?
Defensively, specifically, it was that secondary that looked absolutely shot at times, explosives all over the place for the offenses that they were taking on. Heather, moving over to the Notre Dame side of things, Marcus Freeman and them make that magical run. It is one, to use an earlier theme stated, in the trenches. Those guys have incredible talent all over the field, really. But are we looking at last year's Irish run as a fluke or something that is sustainable long term?
No, that is a first step in the right direction to sustaining an elite level of play for the Irish. Marcus Freeman has continued to grow every single year as a head coach. I think he'll take another step forward again. We have to give C.J. Carr a skinny minute to see how he's going to play as a rookie quarterback. That is a tough opener on the road. But here's the thing. if they win that game, no other team in the country has a better chance to win out than the Irish. That's really important. But if they lose it, they still got some opportunities on the schedule against the Aggies, against Boise State, against USC. Guys, I've talked to Marcus Freeman this year about this team. This team could be better than last year's team that played for the national title. Big mix of really talented starters. Questionable at some number 2 spots on the depth chart, just in terms of youth and inexperience.
Yeah, I love what Marcus Freeman is building there in South Bend, and it's hard to not root for him and this team. Okay, you sort of just alluded to the next question, but whoever drops this opener for Notre Dame or Miami, who has the tougher road to the college football playoff if that were to occur?
Well, I think the Irish have a bit of a tougher spot because they don't have a conference championship game to lock up a spot and earn that title, right? The difference this year for Notre Dame is they can get one of those top 4 seeds and a first round bye because it's a straight seeding model, right? So if the Irish finish in the top 4 in the committee's ranking, they're in the top 4 in the seeding and a first round bye. But if you lose more than 2 games in your Notre Dame and you don't play in a conference championship game, that spells trouble.
Yeah, that's a little scary. When Heather Dinich is on your screen every single day, multiple times a day, that means college football is back. Heather, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Y'all keep it live.